Well, we could see different kinds of storms tomorrow. Stormy conditions are coming. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with the setup and why we're seeing an increased threat for severe weather tomorrow.
Our next weather maker is out here across parts of the plains, Oklahoma and Texas. And look at the yellow boxes that are popping up ahead of the cold front. That's where we have severe thunderstorm warnings. And we are under an increased risk of severe thunderstorms, especially straight line winds that can do the similar type of damage that tornadoes can. We could see trees down, we could see power outages. All of this is marching eastward. Sometimes we watch these systems well to our west and they weaken some as they come toward us. In this case, that does not look like it will happen, unfortunately. Let's talk about the timeline for these storms. This is likely to be a morning to early afternoon type of event for us. That's typically a little earlier than what we normally see. These storms typically, happen in the late afternoon or evening. By 10 o'clock, we're seeing rain from the triangle area westward, but it's this darker red line that we're most concerned about. That's going to be the line where we have straight line winds or some isolated tornadoes. And you can see at 11:30, that's from Roxborough to Durham to Raleigh to Fayetteville. By 12:30, it's moving eastward. It's going to be a really fast moving line, but that almost gives it even more power to knock down trees and create power outages. Rocky Mount, Goldsboro and Clinton by around 12:30. And then after 1:30 or 2 o'clock, it begins to move on out. Of course, timeline wise, this could be a little earlier or a little bit later, but that gives us kind of the window of opportunity from around 10 a.m. to about 2 o'clock for the greatest threat for severe storms. New this morning, the Storm Prediction Center put us in a level 3 risk. That's a level 3, 1 through 5 is the category. Meteorologist Chris Michaels is here to talk a little bit more about what does that level 3 mean for us?
Exactly, yeah. So it's a little more uncommon around here to have a risk level like that. Ordinarily, when we show that from the Storm Prediction Center, it's a level 1, level 2. But that level 3 out of 5 is an indication of numerous reports of severe weather. Now, the last time that we had a level 3 issued for the next day, that was August 7th of 2023. So I went back into the archives, and what you can see was hundreds of reports of wind damage in the Carolinas. Granted, that day was also 90 degrees, so there was more heat to deal with, more lightning that was causing more power outages. But this time around, there's still plenty of wind and potential for some power outages. And there's still a lot of questions that we're answering right now on this Q&A. If you were just to scroll on your phone, that's what it would look like if you go to WRAL.com. As far as the timeline, though, there may actually be a few isolated storms beyond the main event, Elizabeth.
Yeah, let's take a look at that timeline. Up until around 8 a.m., we may see just a few showers. It is going to be windy ahead of this and behind this. Hopefully, once that rain moves through, though, that will knock down our fire danger a little bit. Again, 8 to 2 o'clock, that's when the line of strong thunderstorms comes through with the potential for trees down, power outages, and then after 2 o'clock, that all starts to move on out of here. One thing that I really want to stress for tomorrow, obviously you're watching us here on TV, do not depend on your phone or your app for severe weather coverage. You need to tune into TV tomorrow because we're going to tell you where those storms are specifically in real time and what you need to do to protect yourself and your family. Right now, just quiet weather, 39. It's chilly out there. Throw a coat on. 30 in South Hill, 29 in Goldsboro. It's 28 right now in Southern Pines and around the Triangle, 34 in Cary and Garner. It's 32 in Rollsville. So chilly start this morning, but this afternoon feeling nice out. Temperatures will climb into the upper 60s to low 70s. Of course, tomorrow is a WRAL Weather Alert day for that line of severe storms that's likely to come through the area. After that, it's quiet for the end of the work week. Ken?
Getting a live look outside at Pinehurst this morning. Somebody out there hitting the links there. Clear blue skies. You're waking up this morning. Probably have something a little warm as you're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. Elizabeth, people are probably listening to us on the radio too. I mean, you want to make sure you get it, even when you're out there hitting the links on this cold day, because tomorrow things are heating up.
Oh, they are. Yes, it's chilly out there right now, but beautiful. This is going to be a nice quiet day for us. We will see increasing clouds later this afternoon. Some of our southern counties could see an isolated sprinkle, but beautiful in Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill right now. A little bit of high, thin cloud cover. Chapel Hill is courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. Newest information this morning is that we have an increased risk for severe storms, and for this round, it looks like it's mostly going to be wind damage, straight line wind damage, which can do the same sort of damage that an isolated isolated tornado can as well. So level 3 out of 5. Of course, level 3 is kind of halfway between. This is a 1 through 5 kind of ranking. It's sort of like turning up the heat on your stove. You can see the little marks and it keeps going up, you know, from 1 to 10. Well, we're right here in the medium level. However, that is something that's fairly unusual for us. We most likely have, you know, or most often have a level 1 risk, sometimes a level 2. Level 3 is just not that normal for us. Again, it's going to increase our potential for wind damage. So our severe weather potential for tomorrow, it is likely wind. It will be the main threat with a few isolated tornadoes for us. We take a look at Futurecast and you can see the rain starts to move in during the morning commute. But it's this dark line that we're most concerned about. As that moves across the viewing area, this is where the severe weather is most likely. Again, wind damage, power outages, trees down, and some isolated tornadoes. It's right through the middle of the viewing area at 11:30 and along the I-95 corridor at around 12:30 to 1 o'clock. After that, it starts to move on out. But this will be a significant event for us tomorrow. We could see maybe up to an inch of rain with this as well. So again, the timeline on that, it begins at around 8 to 10 in our western counties. And again, for tomorrow, this is a level 3 now, and that is new information this morning. Of course, wind damage, as we talked about, you know, can cause us a lot of problems. Meteorologist Chris Michael's here to talk about what those winds could look like for tomorrow.
And you know, you start to look at the wind just above the surface, and what's really impressive with that is that estimates about 70 to 80 miles per hour. So if a stronger storm reaches its fullest potential, it can drag some of those wind gusts down to the surface, which is why we're also keeping in mind the potential for power outages. Last time we had a level 3 risk, there were 80,000 without power, but it was also 90 degrees that day. There was more lightning, so I don't expect quite that much, but the orange there shows the medium threat for power outages, especially near and to the east of I-95, where it will be a little warmer ahead of that line of storms. We're answering so many other questions about this severe weather potential all day long on WRAL.com. All you have to do is search Q&A. But Elizabeth, even without the presence of storms, it is going to be windy at times tomorrow.
It will. Even after this moves through, we may see winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. Of course, severe winds are going to be 58 miles per hour or stronger, and we may see that along with that line of thunderstorms. Let's talk about temperature. 68 today, 74 tomorrow, and behind the front, we do see our temperatures dropping a little bit. We also have high fire danger today. We're going to take a closer look at that coming up. Ken?
Elizabeth, happening storm system that will move in.
New this morning, the Storm Prediction Center bumped up our potential for severe storms, so likely to be more widespread, potentially more intense. Here's what's happening right now. You can see this cold front moving across Texas and Oklahoma. All those yellow boxes that you see are severe thunderstorm warnings. That's all straight line wind. There are also multiple tornado warnings that are happening right now. So this storm is producing severe weather, and it will be headed our way. And we're going to walk you through the timeline. We'll start off early tomorrow morning. There at 6:30, the rain is back to the west. We begin to see some showers potentially between 9 and 10 in our western counties. But it's this line right here, that dark red line, that we're most concerned about. And if you've lived here for a while, you're familiar. You know, this is going to be a big line. It's going to affect all the counties in our viewing area, and those warnings will just tick off, and almost everybody will see them. Wind damage is going to be our biggest threat. Expect trees down, power outages. And this is 11:30 from Roxborough to Durham down toward Fayetteville. We'll pause it again at 12:30, South Hill, parts of eastern Wake County, Johnston County, Sampson County, and then by about 1:30, it's in our eastern counties. This new run of the computer model is maybe 30 minutes slower than the previous run. We'll continue to watch that and see if that's the trend. The slower this is, the stronger it may be because it has more energy to work with later in the day that we go. But looking at 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock as the time when we'll have the biggest threat for severe weather. There will be watches and warnings most likely across the viewing area. Meteorologist Chris Michael's here to talk about the difference between the two.
And it can be confusing, right? Because watch and warning start out sounding the same. And so for some of us, it kind of gets a little messed up when we try and think about it. But a watch is when conditions are favorable for severe weather, usually issued hours ahead of time. A warning is when you take action because the thunderstorm either could produce severe weather at any moment or it currently is. Give you a little analogy. Let's just pretend that you're baking. A watch is when you have the ingredients in place. So a cookie, the storm, is possible, but a warning is when it all comes together. So that's just one of the things I've used over the years that kind of helps distinguish between the two. And we know you have more questions about tomorrow's weather. That's why, like we've done with previous storms, we've gone in a Q&A format that's on the homepage of WRAL.com right now. One of the questions, Elizabeth, is kind of the timing of all this.
Yeah, Thanks, Chris. So in the morning before 8 o'clock, we may see a few showers. It may become breezy. Between 8 and 2 o'clock is when we're most likely to see that strong line coming through with wind damage and isolated tornadoes. And then after 2 o'clock, the line will move east, but we'll likely end up with some breezy conditions. And there may be a few evening cells that pop up with some hail. Taking a look at Apex this morning, it's a pretty start, but chilly. 37 right now. We'll climb quickly into the 60s by lunchtime. But right now, temperatures range from upper 20s in Rocky Mount and Goldsboro to upper 30s right around the Triangle area. It's 37 in Raleigh, 34 in Garner, and 33 in Holly Springs. So coats out there this morning, at least for me when I headed out the door. Upper 60s to low 70s across the area, though, for highs this afternoon. And of course, once we see our system move through tomorrow, we cool down just a little bit. The winds that we'll see today could help to increase our fire danger. We're going to take a closer look at that coming up. Ken?